Well, there's been a lot of talk lately about silver teasing that big round number again and whether this is the last clean chance before the market really starts acting different. So in this video, we're going to separate excitement from noise, and you're going to walk away a whole lot calmer, a whole lot sharper, and a whole lot more confident about what you're looking at. Today is Wednesday, April 15th in New York, and comment the day and date you're watching from because I always like seeing where everybody's checking in from. And real quick, if you value what we do here, subscribe and comment John AG Best. So I know you want more of these straight up market breakdowns without the fluff. Now look, overnight silver pushed its nose above that big level again. And then, just like these markets love to do, it backed off and started wobbling around. On the surface, that can mess with your head. You see the breakout, then you see the fade, and the first thing people think is, oh great, here we go again. But that's not how bull phases usually introduce themselves. They don't always kick the door down and stay there. A lot of times they knock, step back, knock harder, and then by the time most people realize what happened, the room's already been taken over. That's where I think we are right now. Not in the easy part, not in the comfortable part, in the part where the market keeps flashing its intentions, then pulling its hand back just enough to make weak conviction fold. Gold's still holding up at a very elevated zone, silver is still living in rare air compared with where it spent most of its life. And the broader metals complex is not exactly waving a white flag here. Based on recently published numbers, silver futures on CME were still trading in the upper 70s today, and gold futures were still sitting in the upper 4,700s, which tells you the broader move has not exactly fallen apart, just because one overnight spike cooled off a little. And that matters because people get hypnotized by the last few hours and completely forget the last few months. That's how investors get shaken out. That's how collectors stop buying right before the fun part. That's how people miss the move they spent years saying they were waiting for. I do believe the larger precious metals run we've been talking about is underway. I'm not saying every morning is going to be green. I'm not saying silver can't pull back hard because silver loves drama. Silver will throw a chair across the room, break a lamp, and then act like nothing happened by lunchtime. That's just silver. But the bigger character of the market looks different to me now. The pullbacks don't look like surrender. They look more like breathers. And let me push back on one thing before we go any further, because this is important. Every time silver moves fast, people run straight to the most extreme explanation. It has to be manipulation. It has to be an exchange failure tomorrow morning. It has to be the entire system exploding before breakfast. Maybe one day something truly breaks. Sure. Markets can break, systems can seize up. We all know that. But not every pullback after a strong move means the story is dead, and not every inventory headline means the lights are going out by sunrise. Sometimes the simplest explanation is just a very volatile metal trading like a very volatile metal. That said, the bigger backdrop is still incredibly supportive. From recent market updates, the silver market is still expected to run a structural deficit this year, which would make it roughly the 6th year in a row where demand stays above supply. And one of the more interesting details is that coin and bar investment has been projected to rise again even while parts of industrial demand cool off, which tells you the investment crowd has not exactly walked away from this trade. That's the part a lot of people miss. They think if industrial demand softens a bit, the whole bullish case disappears. No, that's too lazy. Markets are layered. Silver is layered. This story has more than one engine. You've got investor demand. You've got supply discipline. You've got years of inventory drawdown hanging over the market. You've got people watching currencies, rates, debt, and political messes all at the same time. And you've got a metal that still manages to look cheap to a lot of people whenever gold gets too expensive to chase. That's why dips keep getting bought. That's why this thing doesn't stay buried for long. That's why every sharp move lower starts looking more like a transfer than a collapse. Now, I was checking different regions this morning, just like I like to do, because I want to see whether the tone is lining up across the board or whether one pocket of the world is singing a totally different song. And the tone still looks pretty firm. Not identical everywhere. Not perfectly smooth, but firm. Hong Kong, London, Shanghai, India, that whole picture still says this market has not lost its pulse. The exact prints move around, of course, but the main idea is the same. Strength is not isolated to one little headline or one sleepy overnight burst. It's broader than that. And here's something else that caught my eye. Oil has backed off from the hotter panic trade, and when that cools down while the dollar also loses some swagger, precious metals can catch a cleaner bid. We've seen some of that lately as the market digests the latest Middle East truce headlines, softer crude, and shifting rate expectations. Gold got a lift from that mix and silver moved with it. Now, does that mean every geopolitical story suddenly becomes bullish for metals in the exact same way? No. That's another thing people oversimplify. Sometimes war fear lifts gold immediately. Sometimes falling energy and a softer dollar do more of the work. Sometimes silver lags, then snaps. Sometimes silver leads like it's late for dinner. You have to watch the whole machine, not just one gear. And right now the machine still looks pretty supportive. So when silver tags that major level, fades, and hangs around up here instead of collapsing back into the old basement, that tells me the market is testing acceptance. It's checking whether this higher zone can become home. That process is usually messy, usually noisy, usually annoying. But that's how price discovery often behaves before people stop laughing at the breakout and start pricing it in. And by the way, if you're successful, share your success story in the comments so others can stay motivated, because that matters. A lot of people are still trying to build. A lot of people are still trying to learn. And sometimes seeing one real person say, "Hey, I stayed patient and it helped," does more good than 100 dramatic headlines. Now let's talk silver versus gold for a second, because that race is getting interesting again. Gold still looks like the heavyweight, no question. But silver's been moving with a little more attitude. Not every day, not every hour, but enough to remind people that once silver decides it wants attention, it tends to make up for lost time in a hurry. It doesn't politely ask for a seat at the table. It flips the table over and tells everybody dinner's moving to a different room. That's why some people love it and some people can't stand it. It's brilliant when you're right and deeply disrespectful when you're early. And yes, I still think we can get more fake-outs before a cleaner launch. I still think you can wake up, see a beautiful move, grab your coffee, come back 10 minutes later, and watch silver smack you in the face. That can happen. That probably will happen again. But here's the difference between now and those old dead periods. Back then, rallies looked suspicious because they had no backbone. Now the market has a story behind it, a real one, a layered one, a stubborn one. And no, I'm not basing that on internet theatrics. I'm basing it on the fact that exchange stocks are still being watched closely, open interest still matters, and physical availability has been a real conversation across the market for a while now. CME's own delivery and stock pages show why people keep staring at these numbers. The tension is real. I just don't think the most dramatic interpretation is automatically the smartest one every single day. That's the balance I want to keep here. Bullish does not mean brainless. Excited does not mean reckless. Confident does not mean we stop thinking. And while we're on that, copper has quietly kept flexing too. I've been saying for a while that the broader materials space matters because silver doesn't trade in some magical glass box by itself. When copper stays strong, when supply chains stay touchy, when new mine development is still slow and expensive, it reinforces the idea that real stuff matters. Tangible things matter. Metals matter. Hard assets matter. That doesn't mean you throw a dart at every shiny object and call it investing. It means you pay attention. Maybe that's silver. Maybe that's gold. Maybe that's a little copper. Maybe that's selective collecting. Maybe that's real estate. Maybe it's a mix. But being diversified and being awake are still pretty good habits in a world that keeps getting stranger. Now, community-wise, let me say thank you, because this channel works when you show up and when you actually stay with the video. That matters more than people realize. Everybody talks about the algorithm like it's some wizard in a cave. It's not that mysterious. If people click and leave, you disappear. If people click and stay, the platform figures maybe this thing is worth showing. That's the game. So thank you for helping push this thing forward. And yes, we're still getting close to those subscriber milestones, and yes, I still want to do the giveaways. I'm excited about that. I love rewarding the people who have been here grinding with us. We've got that milestone, just under 10,000 coming into view, then the bigger round number after that, and I want to make those fun. Not dragged out, not complicated, just fun. I'm also looking forward to the Norman Coin Show coming up soon. That should be a blast. I'm hoping to meet a bunch of you there, shake hands, talk metals, talk collecting, and just enjoy being around people who get why this stuff is interesting. Because there's a difference between owning metal and enjoying metal. Some people only care about the chart. Some people only care about the collectible side. I happen to like both. That's why at the end of these videos I like bringing out a few world coins and a few pieces from the personal collection. Not because every single coin is going to make somebody rich, not because every piece has to be ultra rare, but because history is cool, craftsmanship is cool, holding something real in your hand is cool. You can stare at a screen all day and still not get the same feeling as flipping over an old foreign coin and wondering where it's been. This morning I was going through a few pieces again and smiling at how much personality these coins have. A little piece from Turkey. A Netherlands coin with that old European feel to it. A United Kingdom piece with a design on the back that makes you stop and look twice. A small Fiji coin that most people would ignore until you stack enough of those little stories together and realize, hold on, this isn't junk at all. This is memory. This is culture. This is a hobby with a heartbeat. And that's what I want younger people to catch too. If I can hand a kid a coin at a show and that starts something, great. If I can get grandkids interested in old money, great. If I can get somebody away from doom scrolling for 10 minutes because they're fascinated by a design, a date, a monarch, a symbol, a mint mark, great. That's a win. I was also looking again at a couple of Canadian mint pieces in the collection, and man, they know how to make a presentation piece. They really do. One of them has that gold-toned look even though the heart of it is silver, and another has one of those designs where the finish just pulls you in when the light hits it right. Those are the kinds of pieces I buy because I enjoy them, not because I'm in a hurry to flip them. Some things you keep because they remind you why you started collecting in the first place. That matters too. Not every decision has to be reduced to a spreadsheet. Not every ounce has to become a trade. Not every purchase has to answer to some stranger online. Sometimes you buy something because it's beautiful. Sometimes you hold something because it means something. And sometimes the emotional reason ends up being better than the financial reason anyway. So, where do I think we go from here? I think silver keeps testing people. I think gold stays influential. I think dips are still possible, maybe sharp ones. I think the loudest people on both sides are probably overstating their case. And I think the bigger trend still points higher, especially if this market keeps proving it can absorb pullbacks without giving back the whole move. That's the key. Not perfection, not straight lines, not drama for drama's sake. Resilience. If a market can surge, pull back, shake out weak hands, and still keep returning to the scene of the crime, that's not nothing. That's a message. And I think silver keeps sending that message right now, whether people are ready to hear it or not. So keep your head on straight. Keep your emotions on a leash. Keep learning. Keep collecting, keep stacking if that fits your plan. And keep remembering that some of the biggest moves never feel comfortable at the beginning. They feel confusing. They feel suspicious. They feel too early, right up until they don't. That window never stays open as long as doubters think it will stay. All right, everybody, have a great day. Stay sharp, stay grateful, and keep your eyes open. Because this market may be giving people one more hesitation phase before it starts making a lot less sense to the folks still waiting for the perfect entry. And as always, this is just educational commentary from a guy who loves markets and coins, not personal financial advice, so make your own calls and do what fits your life.